Hi, I'm Sarah Jane from Natural Heating, and today we're going to take a closer look at the Ecoburn range of stoves from Arada. Now, Arada are a manufacturer that have been going for a very long time. They are UK, entirely UK made, down in Devon at Axminster. It's a name that not so many people have heard of, Arada, but they're actually very well known. They also own the brand names Villager and Aarrow, which historically are very well known, but it's the same group. So basically, these are your updated Arrows, if you like, with far better features and superior burden and air control and all the things that more modern stoves have to offer. So we'll take a closer look, shall we?
So this stove that I have in front of me today is the 5 wide. So they do a smaller 5 kilowatt, but this is the wide version. And the wide version is also the same size as the 7 kilowatt. It's just the thickness of the bricks. So if we look in the inside of the firebox, you'll see that these have got really mega thick insulation bricks. They're a couple of inches thick, and the bricks in the 7 kilowatt version, it's the same stove, it's just thinner bricks. So higher heat output, less insulation, probably less heat through to the front. I don't know, I've not burnt a 7. 5 is typically the most popular heat output, mainly because you don't need a air vent in houses that are pre-2008 built.
So, what have Ecoburns got to offer us? Well, it's got a nice big screen. It's got decent controls. It's got far better airflow and air wash than they used to in the older Aarrow and Villager stoves, because obviously they've come on, they've evolved. They're not what they used to be. This is the more updated, modern versions. And really, they are a nice looking stove. The Ecoburns have got stainless steel features inside, such as the baffle system and grates. We'll take a wee look.
So, this is the grate, and this is a multi-fuel stove. So you can riddle the grate with a little lever behind the door and above the ash pan, or you can also use an exterior mechanism that does exactly the same thing from the outside. Typically, you really only want to riddle smokeless fuel and not wood. Riddling wood doesn't really do any good. They do a separate, this is set up as a wood burner as standard, but they do a separate multi-fuel kit. And the multi-fuel kit is really just going to put tapered bricks in on the inside so the fuel sits directly over the fire grate. I've got one next to me. We'll open it in a minute. So here is their baffle, their stainless steel baffle at the top. There is an ash pan. Oh, let's get the ash pan too. So there is an ash pan that slides in underneath the grate, and 2 air controls. This one is your secondary and this one is your primary. So you have them both open to heat it up, and then we are going to shut this one down and do all the control on the left for burning wood, whereas we would mainly shut the left hand side down and do the control on the right for solid fuel. Now what you will find with these, isn't that a lovely big glass door? What you will find with these is the handles are going to get hot. This is the standard handle that comes with the stove, but they also offer a heat-proof handle as an optional extra. Now, I have already sold this stove, and this stove is going to one of my customers just shortly, and he is having the heat-proof handle option. So literally just unscrew it and screw on, whoops, not easy to do with one hand, screw on the heat-proof handle. Now, in comparison, we'll get there sometime this year. In comparison, this is a much longer handle that gives you a better grip, and it also doesn't get hot. I do like these handles, but they are a chunk more money. I think off the top of my head they're about £60. But for people that need a bit more grip or don't want to bother using a glove for general opening the door and loading, these are a fabulous thing and worth investing in. We do stock these separately in the shop, and they also fit the Hamlet range of stoves, which are also made by Arada.
Some people say to me, why buy an Ecoburn? Not just buy a Hamlet, because a Hamlet stove is a lot less money than an Ecoburn. Well, the truth of it is, the Ecoburn stoves are 25% heavier. They're thicker metal and thicker build, and all the baffles, etc. on the inside are stainless steel instead of mild steel. So they are a superior, more heavy duty unit with a much more advanced air system and far better control, because a Hamlet doesn't do very much. It's pretty basic, good value for money, whereas the Ecoburns in comparison are a bit more bells and whistles. You get what you pay for. With the Ecoburns, they also tell you that they have a lifetime warranty against manufacturing defects. That's not against misuse, that's against defects. So to me, if you're going to find a manufacturing defect, that happens very early on, like in the first half a dozen burns or so, you'd find a defect pretty early on. And we rarely really ever get manufacturing defects or warranty issues in the majority of stoves. So really, I'd be unlucky if I get more than a couple a year. It doesn't happen very often. So a lifetime warranty sounds spectacularly brilliant, but really, is it anything to shout about? So I'm just going to set a kindling fire in this and then get it lit up. So I'm going to start off with 2 small logs. These are kiln dried birch. We will pop them in there. They're a bit odd size. And a kindling pile on top. So we always use the upside down method of fire lighting. So we'll lay our little sticks in there, just like so. Fire lighter in between, and another row on top. I always like at least 3 or 4 rows of kindling. You can't skimp on kindling. We want that fire to start first time every time. There we go. So I'm just going to close the door over, but leave it slightly ajar until my fire takes and that kindling gets going. Meantime, we can take a bit of a closer look at this little unit. So yeah, it's got 4 legs. As you can see, we can open one up in the box. There is adjustable feet on all 4 legs. Flue exit from both the top and the rear. It's got a good sized body and body depth. We'll go and find out a tape measure in a minute. And there is a heat shield option that can go on the back. This stove can sit on a 12mm thick hearth. It's quite pretty, isn't it? It's got a nice big glass door on there. Now, you may know from my previous videos, I get really irritated about tape measures, because being left-handed, when I pull it out, the measurements, the way that I measure, all read upside down when I go to do a video, so it's really annoying. And somebody recommended, one of you guys recommended a special vice versa tape measure that actually has the measurements both ways up, so it's ideal for lefties like me. Do you know what? I don't know where to put the blinking thing. I bought 2 of them and somehow I've put it down somewhere, or somebody's borrowed it and taken it away by accident, which often happens with tape measures. And can I find it? So I've got a normal one, and you see. So tape measures kind of get lost quite easy in here. I'm looking for a bright red one. I mean, there's another one sitting up here, so we've now got 2, but not the right ones, and they'll be here, or it should be here, and I cannot see where I've put it. I've looked on my desk, I've looked all right about, and I can't find it. Up there, that one up there, yeah, it's miles away. That is my emergency tape measure. So when I can't find one, and I've always got one missing and I really need one, I climb up there and get my emergency tape measure. And luckily that one's been there for quite a while now. It's almost like a running joke, and I've been painting the floors, so everything's kind of masked off in here.
ready for the next coat on the other room being done. It's a bit shiny right now. But this little guy is getting up to heat nice and quick. I can feel the heat radiating out the front. My logs will catch just shortly because the kindling pile is getting down. Now, clearances from combustibles really aren't great on these as standard, out the box that is, because they need 650 millimetres on the back from combustibles if you're fitting on single wall pipe. But the good news is that if you do buy the optional heat shield, that reduces right down to as low as 50 millimetres on the back from combustibles, which is pretty damn good. So if you wanted to put this on a log stand or on a hearth and you had a plasterboard wall behind it, no problem, just fit the heat shield. 50 millimetres is pretty damn good, to be honest. And it will run on a 5-inch flue. As standard, it comes with a DEFRA screw, but not fitted. So it's 6-inch flue unless you fit the DEFRA kit. And don't forget, this one that we're going to run today has not currently got the DEFRA kit fitted, so there won't be as much air control. They're on the outtakes, huh? Okay, when you fit the DEFRA kit, the stove will not turn down this much. So to have this amount of control, you need to run a 6-inch flue, not a 5-inch. Maybe we'll actually fit the DEFRA kit and see how much difference it makes, huh? Let's see what that does later, if I get a chance. Depends how long I've got to play with this stove because it is sold. Now, the door's still open, but it's picking away nicely. And my bottom logs are starting to catch. As I say, it's a nice big viewing glass on this. I'm just going to shut the door. Both air controls, open it again already. Both air controls are down at the bottom, can be accessed from under the door. And they're really smooth and easy to operate. So you just slide them back and forward. So you can get in there quite easy with your fingers. And we'll do that once it gets up to temperature. Now, this stove has special paint on it that's supposed to be no smoke, so it shouldn't smell when we're doing the curing burns. I'm not going to be able to tell you too much about that. I just oiled this hearth, so it stinks. I've oiled it with slight oil, which is like linseed based, and it smells like fish. It's not very pleasant. I'm sure that would probably mask the stove's paint smell, but at least it shouldn't smoke off the surface. So the 5 kilowatt wide model is 631 millimetres high and 518 millimetres wide. Depth of it is 430 millimetres, including the handle. So it's about 375 on the body. It's got a nice big firebox. That's 10-inch split lugs that I've put in there. And as you can see behind me, there is oodles of room in that firebox. No problem at all for burning wood. The logs only just catch in the bottom, and the insulation on it is so good that I can feel the heat coming out the front already. My shoulders getting nice and warm, even if my bum is cold sitting on the concrete floor. So here's the multi-fuel kit that you get for this stove. You get a pair of these refractory bricks and a higher retainer bar for the front. So basically what happens is this bar comes out, the wood burning bar that lets more air through, to allow you to put the bar in for solid fuel that allows you a higher banking up depth. And then these bricks pop in the inside, like so, to keep your smokeless fuel coils directly over the coal grate centre. Straightforward, isn't it? Okay, so this little thing here is your DEFRA stop. It's a T25 Torx security bit and a little metal plate with a little bent tab on it. Basically, that goes in this hole here and stops you shutting right down your secondary air control for both a clearer burn and, well, so you don't restrict it so much, which is part of the DEFRA thing. And I'm just trying to start this with one hand, and we'll flip it up and in. Then I can do it with the screwdriver and the Torx bit. Maybe I don't even need the screwdriver. I do have one here. That'll do for now, because I'm going to take it on and off so you can see what it does. But that now doesn't shut down by the last 25 millimeters or so, which will make this stove burn hotter. Another day, another bit of video. See that silly one you've been watching? She got a few things wrong. So I've jumped in here to stick my oar in before she shows you what she did, because I'm going to let her show you what she did, because she was wrong. And it pays to follow the manufacturer's instructions, because if you don't read the manual, then you can't always get the required results. Sometimes the manuals aren't right. Sometimes the manufacturers aren't right. That's why I test burn everything, is to actually learn the product. And sometimes it takes a few fires to work it out. And in this case, it actually did. I've read Gabriel the Tortoise's reviews on this stove, and some parts of it, he really didn't rate it very well. And some of that I'd agree with, or would have agreed with, if I hadn't burnt it again and tried to get to the bottom of it. Now, the spillage on this stove, in other words, smoke piddling out the door, was bad when I did it, but it was my fault. I didn't realise that in the first instance. Everything looked like it had gone to plan. My kindling fire was burning good and bright. Everything had been given what felt like adequate time to heat up. And I opened that door and it really did piddle smoke back. But that, wasn't following the manual, because this manual is different from almost every other manual, and it does tell you put 2 small logs in the bottom, which I always do, followed by kindling. But it wanted 4 small logs in the bottom. 2 logs, a pile of kindling, the door left slightly ajar. And you don't shut that door till all the logs are on fire, and then you do not open that door at all until there's nothing but red embers left. And that took a good 45 minutes, maybe more. And once you actually do that, it does exactly what it says on the tin. In subsequent burns, after I had reloaded it and the full chimney and everything was heated up, no problem at all. I could open that door, it doesn't spill back. But when that chimney was not up to adequate heat, because the baffling or whatever it is so good at throwing the heat forward, and the glass was staying so nice and clean, and various other different things to do with the air system in this stove, the method that I would normally use and works for me every single time, on this occasion didn't. So I'm going to show you how the manual says to light the stove, and then I'll show you what happened to her. Now, I would just honestly never do this, but what it says is 4 logs in the stove, 2 at the bottom. These are 10-inch splits. 2 on top of them. Just try and make a flatbed area, and then a kindling pile on top of that. And never in a month of Sundays would I start with that much fuel in that stove. That is just not happening. 2 small logs, and then once it's burnt down, 1 small one on top. Having opened the door would be my normal method, and it never fails me, except it did, and I'm going to show you. So that looks like the most ridiculous amount of overfilling and absolutely absurd, but this is what the instructions tell you to do. 1 fire lighter, a whole bucket load, no, not bucket load, but a great big handful of kindling, and look at the height of that on the inside. I mean, here's my hand, the height of that. That to me is just bananas. No matches, no fire thingy, blowtorch, just going to go and get it. Right, so this is my one, just in the front of the shop, and Violetta's got a nice pile stacked, ready for lighting that fire if anybody wants to see it lit. 2 small logs in the bottom, nice big kindling pile on top. That's how we do it. This stove has an absurd amount of fuel in it. But listen to the instructions, because it works. It really does truly work. And it does not want you putting this amount of fuel in next time, only the first time. So we've got both our vents open. I know a match would suffice, but I can't do a matchbox with 1 hand. Right, okay. Probably to do with that spacing in the baffle and the way that it heats the chimney up, the instructions want that kindling fire right up at the top by the baffle. And it wants me to have the door slightly ajar and let that burn down before I shut the door. And this will work. And it is absurd, it is a lot of fuel, and I've done several fires like this now, maybe 4 or 5, and it has performed beautifully, and I can't fault it following these instructions. Now, here's the manual. Four logs, 2 logs in the bottom of the chamber, across the stack, 2 smaller logs. Well, yeah. And the kindling pile on top with the fire lighters. And leave the door about 1 inch ajar. That is exactly what we've got. Now, once you get this stove up to temperature and the fire is established and you shut the door, you don't need to open it again to put any more fuel in until you're down to a hot red ember bed. When you reload, we don't want nearly so much fuel. We want either a daddy log or 2 baby logs. Yeah, 1 large or 2 small logs at a time. That is all you burn when refueling on an ember bed. Say, only add 1 large or 2 small logs at a time to the ember bed. Well, as far as these goes, I would still say these are small to medium logs. These are not big logs, and this is a sensible size fire. So 2 small ones like that, or 1 much bigger piece. Nice. That to me just looks like so much fuel. But honestly, we'll see what she does and I'll show you, and then I'll show you what happened last time, because it is important, and I'm not doing this stove justice if I don't show you the fact that it didn't work for me the first time I lit it, and it just burns a bit differently to the old Ecoburn models that were pre-2022. And that's why it's important I test them, so that we know how they work and we know that that sort of problem isn't going to happen to you. Because every stove has its own personality. Well, it's quickly establishing itself and the fire is catching nice and quick. You can see that kindling pile is well on fire. Top-down Scandinavian fire lighting method, which is then catching to my bark on, this is kiln dry birch that I've got in there. That's what I've been using for testing videos, because it means I'm burning everything the same and you guys are seeing what it's doing. So it's catching nicely. I'll let it catch for another minute or so more, and then we'll shut the door and let it do its stuff. Right, so both logs have now caught fire. Definitely picking up good pace, and I'm just going to shut the door handle. The door is now sealed. Now you see the black smoke and carbon at the top laying down. That's just because it's not hot yet and it's not up to temperature. It won't take long at all to clear that down and burn that off, because we're rapidly building heat inside that firebox. And it's not going to go out now, and it's going to burn nice and clean, and it's going to easy burn even on full air for probably about 45 minutes. I'm not going to turn it down at all. I'm going to let it go, because I need to heat the chimney, the whole flue system up, as well as the internal firebox. Now, this stove will get hot, but at the moment the actual firebox itself is cold. It's not up to temperature, but I can really feel the heat banging out the front, and it's only been 2 or 3 minutes since I lit it, nowhere near temperature, and it's just that kindling really that's burning at the top of the firebox, and my logs have properly caught fire. That's the bottom log starting to take now. All my air vents are fully open. I won't shut the tertiary, the top air down for some time. We'll do the bottom one once all that black's disappeared and it's getting up to temperature. Okay, so meantime, I'm going to nip back and let her show you what she did. So, warming up nicely, all the piles on fire, just chucking a good amount of heat out, time to make our fire sandwich. Now, some people really like to just leave that till it really burns right down to ember before they put a new one on, which I do,
but I only do after I've got the full chimney and stove up to temperature. I like to just carefully open it actually and put another log on, only this time, only till I know the flue is properly heated up. So I'm just going to prime the door and give it a second. It's not heated up enough. Look, do you see the smoke coming out that top door? There's not enough heat in that chimney, but there's decent enough fire in there. I'm not going to risk that. Not yet, I'm not. Right, we've given it a bit longer, and as you can see, it's getting nice and warm. Yeah, it's not too cold out tonight, but I was a bit chilly. Not chilly now. It's chucking some nice heat out in front. Not unbearable, but there's not much in it. Yeah, and it's still getting up to temperature. But you can see that baffle is clearing down at the top. So most of the carbon's burnt off, and the firebox is nice and clear now. So it should be up to temperature. So now I'm just gonna, the air vents are still fully open at the moment. So I'm gonna prime the door and give it a few seconds for those gases to evacuate before you fully open them. Now you should reload on red ember, but when I'm putting a log in and still getting the chimney up to temperature and to test, I like to open when there's actually still a bit of flame because people reload too early and I want to see what this fire does. Now it's heated up, there's no spillage. You see, this is burning gorgeous now. It's burning lovely and bright. And even she got hers burning nicely eventually. She just hadn't lit it in the correct manner and it wouldn't have spilled in the first place because this hasn't, geez, I'm roasting. It really is kicking the heat out. I haven't turned the upper air down yet. This is still the kindling fire when it's heating up. I have turned the bottom air off, so it is running on top air only, the secondary. We'll turn it down a bit and you'll see it start to come into check. But don't forget, we have got the DEFRA screw fitted to minimise how much we can turn it down. But you'll see the tertiary air injectors kicking and swirling the air in at the top of the firebox, and we've still got a lot of fresh fuel in here. And birch is a softer hardwood, so it does burn pretty hot. When the flames die back a bit, we'll control it again. Then I'll take the DEFRA screw out and show you how she controls with the DEFRA screw out when we are able to shut it down more so you can see the difference. It's stabilising off quite nicely with that fresh fuel. But we'll take a look at it in a minute. There you go. I'm just sat on the sofa in front watching this. And some of that initial wood has burnt down. There is lots of it left. But the fire has nicely heated up and it's burning really gorgeous and bright. You can still see some of the remnants of kindling at the front on the log retainer bar. My logs are starting to collapse down a bit and break down at the back, but I do still have a vast amount of air going through that stove, and it'll be a while yet before that chimney's full temperature. But it's lovely and warm in here, and it's burning nice and clean, and the glass is all nice and clean, and it's burning at a good pace, and it's not out of control, not for when you're heating the chimney up. Okay, so this is still the first load on full top air, no bottom air, because it's not fully up to temperature in the chimney, although the firebox is now up to the temperature. Lovely and bright and clear. Alright, this is the safety handle. The safety handle is hot. Right, this is still that enormous first load. It's burning nice and clear, and it's on top, full top air and no bottom air, and I'm just turning down the bottom air to stabilise it a bit. And although it has good control, it ultimately doesn't have as much control as what it does with that DEFRA stop out. I'll take the DEFRA stop out and I'll show you what it can do. Now it's fully heated up, just like she showed you, but I'm not opening the door as quick. I've given it a better chance to heat up and I've lit it in a different method. Prime it, give it a few seconds to pull everything away. And there's no smoke coming out that door. so I'm not getting any spillage. God, that's hot. I'm trying to take this DEFRA screw out, but I need 2 hands because the heat coming out of this is intense at the minute. Right, I've just taken that DEFRA screw out. I open the air back up again. And this isn't fresh wood, this is quite well burnt down wood, but it is still on the first load and it's nowhere near ready to put extra fuel in that firebox. There's ages burn time left in what I've got there, and when I do reload it, 1 is plenty enough. Alright, now I'm going to turn that air control. These air controls don't get hot. The handle's got a bit hot in that first load, even with the safety handle, because of it so much fuel in it, I reckon. But you'll see it slows down beautifully and is mega reactive without that DEFRA screw in. It's not nearly so reactive with the DEFRA screw in. That's normal, but to take it out, you really should be putting in a 6-inch liner rather than the 5-inch liner option. That's mainly down to whether you want an air vent or you need an air vent or not, and if the house is built pre-2008. Okay, but it does burn beautifully. It does burn beautifully, and it does burn really well, both with and without the DEFRA stop in. And I've not had any further issues with any smoking back on this model on any of the other test burns I've done, apart from that initial first one that she had with the other normal lighting technique. So this particular fire seems to want a higher kindling pile when you first light it. The Ambition is a bit like that as well with the Heta Ambition. It likes a high kindling pile and a lot of pressure to clear the air, cold air out the chimney, just because the way the baffle system is in the inside. So typically I usually do similar with the Ambition, but this stove doesn't have the same air volume as the Ambition. She thought she'd get away with it. Didn't, kicked her ass. Anyway, I don't think I've really got an awful lot more to tell you on this. Do you want another look? See, it's burning just nice. That is the air control totally turned down with the DEFRA stop out. There's the DEFRA stop. Oh, I keep getting electric shocks. I think it's these shoes, and I'm sitting in that couch. Doesn't normally do that, but I've been getting electric shocks all afternoon for some reason. Either that or it's this funny top. It would take a wee minute to put some air back in that firebox and then bounce back when my fuel's well let down. Right, first burn is nearly down, and this is what I would call down to chunky red ember. Okay, and I'm just going to put 1 log in there and shut the door. Now your top here, up here, which is down at the bottom ironically, is fully open, and in a few seconds that log will catch. There we go. Catching nicely over those red hot embers. And just the one's plenty. The less fuel you burn, the more fire space you have to see, typically. So I want to burn as little fuel as I can for the heat output that I need out. I don't put in more logs than I need, and 1 to 2 logs is plenty, and that's all it says to burn. Most of us burn far too much fuel. We're looking for 1 to 1.5 kilos of wood per load. You shouldn't need any more than that in a 5 kilowatt fire. And that flame is catching. Lovely. Yep. Now, the DEFRA stop is currently out. Let's see if we can back this off a bit so I can get closer. Whoops. DEFRA stop is currently out. And when I turn her down, she's beautifully reactive. And back up again. Springs instantly to life. I shouldn't be opening the door, but what I'm going to do is quickly pop that DEFRA stop in and show you what it does with the DEFRA stop in place. Right, same again, except the DEFRA stop is in place this time. I'm going to turn it down. And immediately you'll see it react. It just doesn't turn so far because it's locked about 25 millimeters open. There's still really good air control on it, but this is with the DEFRA screw in, just so you're not disappointed when you see the difference with the stop in or when it's out. Obviously it's up to both you and your fitter whether you leave the stop in or out and whether you fit 5 or 6 inch flue. So final conclusion, it's a good stove, it's UK made. Yes, it's like twice, heading towards twice the amount of money a Hamlet, but the technology on this stove compared to the Hamlet made by the same manufacturer is vastly different, and this is a vastly superior stove. I really think that they should be putting the safety handle, cool touch handle, the bigger version that I've got on this one at the minute, which is an optional extra about 60 quid. I think they should be putting that on here as standard because I really think fire needs it, and I think it looks better with that handle than the much shorter one. It just seems to blend and look better to me. It does. It controls beautifully. It looks nice. It's a classical looking stove that will fit in anywhere that's either really modern or really traditional looking, with good fast heat up time, superb heat throw forwards. Can spill, yes, but only if you get it wrong, because I've had multiple attempts at this since just to put my own mind at rest that it wasn't going to be misbehaving. If you follow the instructions and do how it says, I've not had any issues with it. If you don't follow the instructions, and like the Het at Ambition, for example, have that nice big high kindling pile to the top of the baffle, it could kick your ass like it kicked mine. I think that's just because different stoves have different air draw capabilities and the levels of insulation are different, and they all behave a bit differently. That's like why I like to test them and see how they're running, and if they don't do what I'm expecting, and sometimes things don't, I need to take a step back and analyse that and work out why it's doing what it's doing, and if I can get around it. I might have years worth of experience. It doesn't mean I'm always right. It doesn't mean that there's not new things to learn. It doesn't mean I don't need to strip them all to a pile of parts and try and work out why something's doing like that. And it does make a difference when your local customers come to you and you know how to properly support them. And that's why I truly believe that people should be coming here. They should be coming into the shop. They should be coming and touching and feeling them. They should be dealing with our local retailer, that we're here to back you up and give you the support. Big difference, after all, of spending time with your local retailer like me that can actually help you narrow down what you need in a stove. What you like and I like could be two completely different things, but you need to find something that fits your budget, that fits the looks and capabilities that you want, that you can operate it properly. This stove that I've got on lit test fire, I've actually sold it twice, because the first gentleman that was going to have it, and we desperately wanted my ex-lit display before he even lit it, so he was getting a bit of discount off of it because I was going to light it for video. He came in to see it burning, and as much as he liked the fire, he couldn't really work it because the handles and things were in the wrong position for him, and he needed a stove that was higher up, and he needed a stove that had easier accessible controls just for him. Because for some people, especially those that are getting older, maybe these air controls that are really low down and tucked underneath, although they don't get hot, might just not be suitable. And as much as you love something in the flesh, as much as you love something in a picture, when you see it in the flesh, it might not be the right one for you. A perfect example of that is what happened last weekend. I went to buy a new car. New car, to me, that is. I've had my current one 5 years and I'm totally in love with it. And I thought I knew what I wanted. I wanted to go and buy a Mini. I decided I wanted a 3-door Mini hatchback. And I went to go and look at cars. I've had a Mini before. And when I looked at the newer ones and what they are, and the inside with this great big dial thing and the heads-up display and the new fabric-y type dashboard, I decided, you know what? I don't actually like it. I don't like it at all. And I don't want one after all. I still love what it looks on the outside. But the internals just weren't right for me. So with a bit of help from another local small retailer, I bought a new car, and I get my new car next week. And it's not a Mini, and it's not what I went to buy. And for me, a lot of the time, that's also what happens in here in the shop. I've got customers come from far and wide that come to see us, and I'm truly blessed with people's understanding. And it's lovely getting all your comments and the feedback and just spending time with people. I love spending time with people. I love the interaction. I love being able to teach you how to use your stove properly when I actually physically get to meet you. I want it to be the best thing since sliced bread, and not, oh, I wish I hadn't known different aspects that may or may not suit you, because when you handle it, it just feels different. And it's like driving a car or sitting in a seating position that's wrong. If it's not right, you can't ever make it right. It's just wrong. And as much as you love how something looks, if it doesn't meet the quality or the expectations or the seating position or the door handle's not right or you don't feel safe using it, it's never going to be the right one for you. And it's going to take away the shine and the polish. And this needs to be just the sparkling point, the centre point of your home that just makes you go, oh yeah, I'm home. I'm in front of my fire. Fire brings me life. Fire is what I am. And you know, I just want everything for you to be right. But as high as 70% of people that come in to visit me buy a different stove than the one they come in for. Okay, a few of them don't buy a stove at all. It's not just about that. I'd rather you didn't buy one at all than buy the wrong thing. And that to me is my reputation and what I do. And I really do treasure every single ounce of feedback that we get, whether it be on Google reviews, which are hugely important to small businesses like me, or whether they're via YouTube or via Facebook. And I love to know that you've got things right or you've found the information helpful. And it's even better when I've helped you do everything from start to finish. And, you know, yes, I do it for work, but I also do it because I love it. I really do truly love it. But it's just awful to hear these people that have bought things and don't get on with it for XYZ reason, or they're disappointed because it didn't control the way they thought it would, or you know, there all sorts of different things. Go and handle them. Come and see us. Go and see your local retailer, whoever that may be. It's not just about doing stuff like that online. It's too important. It's something you're going to handle and use all the time for years. It's not a one-hit, 1 minute, split-second decision. Or if it is, just be wary that it is something you can get lumped with. Yeah, I know, it's another long video and I'm terribly sorry about that. I'm not very good at short videos. But I hope you found it helpful in the main. And I have covered everything I can think of for the moment, including the bad bits, which was me. I'm the bad bit today. But there we go. Enjoy. Thank you.